Welcome back, everybody, to the Dusty Bender Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chance Watson, with you as always, Taylor Wells. Episode 118 coming at you, folks, today. Taylor, why aren't our names up on here?
Because we don't want people to know.
That's
who we
fair.
are.
That's fair. I guess that's.
I'm Wells.
Show display
There you
names.
go.
Oh, hey, there we
I
go.
don't know how you did that, but
I don't know how I did it either. I think
go.
I wheeled it into existence.
You sure did.
Not willed it. I wheeled it into existence.
You wieldied it.
Wheelied
it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Episode 118 coming at you today, folks. Recording on Thursday, day after we normally do. Apologies for that. I got invited to a Little John concert.
Wow.
Shout out to Lindsay for hooking me up with those tickets and having a good time out there. That was an interesting concert for sure. As somebody who does not necessarily go to Little John concerts, it's like entertainment value was like a 9 out of 10 because the dude knew his audience. He knew it was fucking 25 and older, and it was like a middle school dance. Just like every song you heard at your middle school dance, they were playing. And so everybody was just having a good time. In terms of like artist talent, he didn't really do anything. Every once in a while, he'd grab a mic and be like, yeah. And that was about it.
He didn't really. DJing.
Yeah, he didn't really do, like. And honestly, he only has like 2 songs anyway. Like he comes out to shots, which not necessarily the most difficult song in the world to get through.
I mean, this is probably a difficult one to create.
You think so?
Yeah, there's probably 20 total fucking words in that song. So I mean,
all right.
Had to.
What
are we currently doing?
What rhymes with shots? Yo, shots.
Hey, shots also rhymes.
Shots.
That's talent.
It was a lot of talent, but no, like entertainment fun value. It was like going to a good DJ who knew who their audience was and who was in the crowd. So they played good songs. We had a good time.
Nice.
So,
I've been a little tired this week. I also went to a concert.
Where'd you go to?
On Sunday night. So I don't love going to concerts on like weeknights. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
yeah.
Sunday I gotta work the next fucking day.
Mine was at the county fair. So
yeah. We were like an hour outside of town at like this little outdoor pavilion and shit. It was really cool. Weezer, man, got to see fucking Weezer.
No way.
Yeah, it was pretty. They put on a great fucking show. They were with Spoon and White Reaper, I believe, was the opening act. They were okay.
Right, now you're
they were okay. Spoon was surprising. I hadn't heard a lot of their shit, but Spoon was pretty good. So Weezer was the man. But
that's awesome. That's glad to hear. I need to
good shit, man.
I need to get a refresher on my Weezer.
Little Island in the Sun, got all the goodies. So
it's been a hot second since I've listened in on that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I hadn't listened to Weezer until like a week before I went to the fucking concert. So
totally,
it had been a while since I'd been jamming Weezer. So
nice. Well, sounds at least we're getting some arts and culture in, right?
That's right. I'm starting to slowly like just branch out into not just sitting at my house all day.
That's just going from work to home.
Yeah, work to home, and somehow still fucking exhausted with other shit. So
that's I think most people our age do know how that is.
Mm-hmm. Ready for retirement already.
Yeah. So if you're one of our younger listeners, there's not much to look forward to. Sorry.
Yeah, it's only downhill from here, bub.
It really is. It really is. Folks, before we get into the show, some housekeeping stuff mixed with some actual fun content here. First out, we want to give a shout out to a Lindsay May, a Colorado Avalanche fan who has followed the page and done some interaction with us on Twitter. Shout out, even though you have a poor choice in hockey team, we do appreciate your support, and we appreciate you following along with us and having fun with us, having a good-natured, friendly rivalry. We could sit here and talk about for an hour about how rivalry helps the game and how the NHL has just like totally ruined it. Like, ironically, they ruined it more when they tried to do rivalry nights. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, Hey, rivalry night between the Minnesota Wild and the Chicago Blackhawks.
Bam, bam, bam.
Right, and they're like, these two teams used to tear each other apart when the Minnesota Wild were the North Stars. And you're like,
I wasn't
okay,
even born yet.
how many of those guys are on the team now? Like,
complete turnover even in the fucking office.
they've got JR trying to sit there like, JR, tell us about how these two teams hate each other. He's like, yeah, Patrick Kane and Zach Parise, they really, don't like each other. But Parise is pro cab driver. Kane is not.
Yeah, that is a big thing in the Parise house. Lots of it's just runs in the family, cab drivers. So
that's my daddy was a cab driver, my mama was a cab driver.
That's right.
Kane's just like Uber and Lyft only, man.
Yeah.
Unless you're Matt Duchene, then you don't even like Lyft. So
yeah, or if you're or if you're Galchenyuk, you just try to drive home shit faced. So
oh God, what a dumbass.
I saw he's got to do like a guaranteed 3 days in the fucking. He's got to go through like a lot of shit. I don't remember exactly the details.
Yeah, he took a plea, and I think part of that is like he signed it because I happen to be in this world a lot. Like people who are like really guilty, they'll try to make the court like feel like they have to like, how could you do this? My client has a wedding to go to in 2 weeks, some horse shit like that. So Galchenyuk like immediately signed. I think he signed a contract in Sweden or something.
Yeah. I got places to be.
Like I can't go to jail. I've got to go to Sweden and play hockey.
Man, how they you know what? Good for him for sticking around longer than his buddy and juniors, Nail Yakupov, though. So
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true
for them.
Got a lot of people that were strong up and comers that never made it.
Yeah, Taylor Wells, Chance Watson.
Boy, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
There was a time where there was hope.
Yeah, I was like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. He'll grow eventually. He's not gonna be fucking this tiny compared to his peers for that long, right?
Man, I was a number 1 defenseman my squirt and peewee years.
Yeah, like a learn to skate league.
No, I legit played good competitive hockey my squirt and peewee years. But like at that age, it's all about positioning and like hockey sense. Like there is no like real.
Speed.
There's and speed because there's no real physicality at that age. Even if you can hit, like no one has, like there's that one kid on your team that has like a beard, and you're like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And then everybody else is just baby faced and below 6 foot.
Right.
And then when we hit bantam, everybody else was growing and I didn't. So I could no longer play defense because even though I was really still good positionally and I knew the position well, I couldn't box anybody out.
Yeah, good luck. Your poke check button on Xbox had to be working pretty good.
Oh, I became the poke check master. I got real good at that. But then when they just run over me, it didn't really matter.
It hurts a little, yeah.
Jesus. God, rough life. Okay, folks, housekeeping stuff. First off, we want to give a shout out to Mike Crawford and Mike Crawford Photography. Mike is an absolute beauty. He hooked us up with our tickets and our invites and our opportunity to go to the showcase. That's the last time we talked about that. It's still raising money. I think money is still kind of dribbling in. So yeah, good money for a good cause. Shout out to Mike Crawford Photography, guys. If you have any sort of I'm convinced this guy can shoot anything because I've seen it all. In fact, recently on one of our Twitter posts, we used one of his photos taking pictures of the very, very messy gray fire out in Medical Lake. But the guy he can shoot everything. So if you're in the Spokane area, inland Northwest area, and you need something taken pictures of professionally and good quality, reach out to Mike Crawford. Next up, folks, we need to talk. What's that?
Quick, Chance. I do want to clarify. He spells his first name a little interesting.
That's right.
Right. So I think it's like MYK and then Crawford Photography. Okay. Yeah. So
Crawford spelled how it sounds, normal spelling, but Mike MYK. That is correct.
Yeah.
You can find him on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual suspects on that.
Yeah.
Cool. Moving on, folks. We need to shout out longtime supporter of the show, our only one main guest host we've ever had, Fire Chief John Miller, coming back to sponsoring the show for a full year. John, we appreciate your support, and we fucking love you, man. We absolutely love you. We know you're fucking busy as hell, especially with this, wildfire season. You're not a wildland firefighter, but it keeps everybody on their toes right now. Everybody wants to jump on that shit while they still can, as we've seen lately, and as we'll talk about here in a second. All it takes is a little accident or a little fuck up to start a huge fire that can cause massive property damage and even kill some people.
Nice,
so shout out to John Miller and all the folks that work with him in that field. Cheers to you, boys. Cheers to you. There we go. There you go. And it's water this episode. So
yeah, well, this is technically a cocktail. It's just my skinny boy summer cocktail.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I made the mistake recently. So I really had a nice Galaxy Watch, and I lost it, and then I got a new one, and this one's really smart. Like, this is a smart watch, to the point where it's smart enough to tell me that I need to be healthier. Like, I didn't even ask. I didn't even ask it to tell me that. Like, I just put it on one day, and it's like, hey, you should walk more.
Yeah, I just checked your body mass index, and it's not good.
It literally does check that. Like, it makes me, like, you have to stick two fingers, like you're kind of you're bowling, and and you have to hold it for a second. You hold these buttons, and then it tells you like how much fat you've got, like your BMI, your fat percentage, all that shit, and it doesn't like any of the numbers that it gave me. It was
the numbers.
Yeah. It didn't like any of that, and I thought I was a fairly, like, I'm 5'7", 154. Like, I thought that was okay, but apparently not.
It's not good for me. I'm way fatter than you, so I got work to do.
The watch would like burn you, just like, get the fuck off me.
Ouch. Yeah. And I also bowl with 3 fingers. I don't know if you're bowling with 2 fingers, you're not doing it correct.
Well, it's the bowling ball technique. Never mind. Never mind.
Shocker,
that's
the shocker. I got you.
That's a different technique for a different sport.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anywho, no. The watch has been convincing me to try to drink a little less and be a slightly healthier. So I've been running
Good
again,
for you.
and I hate that so much. But the water definitely helps. So shout out to John Miller once again. He works with water for a living. So there you go. There's that too.
There's your yep.
Yeah. All right, folks. Next up, one of our favorite sponsors, probably our favorite sponsor, if we're not going to lie, the Hub Tavern out in Spokane, Washington. Folks, the Hub Tavern is your home away from home and the hockey bar in Spokane in the Inland Northwest, part of the Seattle Kraken Anchor Alliance. And folks, we've talked about how awesome Dave is on this show multiple times. Dave and Mona are the owners of the place. Dave is just one of those guys that you want to love. One of those people that not very many people say that I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. You don't hear that very often nowadays. Right. Dave is one of those people, and putting his money or his merch where his mouth is. Recently, if you're not familiar with it, this isn't a news report, so you can look it up online. But recently, the community of Medical Lake, Washington, just outside of Spokane, was just devastated by a wildfire, the Gray Fire, if you do want to look into it. I think over 200 homes were burned down. A person was killed. Very, very terrible situation. And a lot of those individuals are frequent the Hub Tavern. So Dave reached into his magic bag of merch and pulled out I think it's a 56... I forget how jerseys are actually measured in terms of that length, but it's a pretty large jersey, but it's an Oliver Bjorkstrand autographed jersey.
Sick.
Yeah, it's an official one. It's not some knockoff. What was that? What was the knockoff jersey makers when we were kids? Quicksilver or something like that?
I don't remember. I just remember I always
Kickstarter.
Something.
It's something like that, because I had a Red Wings jersey that was that starter. I think it was just starter.
It was just starter, yeah.
Yeah, starter, whatever it was. Yeah. But in any case, no, this is a true blue Oliver Bjorkstrand jersey signed by him himself, And God, this guy is just so he kicks off a 1-day fundraiser, $15 raffle tickets for this thing. All the funds going to the people. Taylor and I, we throw in, everybody throws in. He sells the tickets out in a day, draws for it. Somebody wins. Shout out to this guy. Shout out to this guy, not only because he won and congratulations, but this just saint donates it back. This guy donates it back. I believe his name is Tim. Donates it back to the cause. So as we record this episode, it's on Thursday night. The contest, or the raffle rather, is still going on. Tickets are $5 for this beautiful, awesome jersey. It's at the Hub Tavern. All the proceeds are going to folks to assist with the Gray Fire. I believe the breakdown is, some of it goes to the local Red Cross or something like that to help humans, and then also goes to Spokanimal, a group here in Spokane that takes care of wildlife that's been affected, or animals rather, so pets. So they are putting some money together for that. So folks, if you're in the Spokane area, the Inland Northwest, or you're just passing through Spokane, please swing by the Hub Tavern, have a beer, say hi to Dave, tell him you came from the Dusty Bender podcast, and get some raffle tickets for this jersey, because first off, the jersey's awesome, and second off, all the money's going to an amazing cause. If you are not in the Spokane area or the Inland Northwest, in this general area, if it's not convenient for you to get to the Hub, please reach out to us. Shoot us a direct message, a DM on Twitter or Facebook, and or I think we even have an email. Do we use that email?
I'm sure it's mostly just spam at this point. It's probably
mostly. Okay, yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, don't send us that. Shoot us a message on Facebook or Twitter, and we will get you. We'll put you in the right direction. Whether it's whether you Venmo us and we get it to where it needs to go to the Dave, or we can get you in touch with Dave. Whatever you're more comfortable with, however we want to do it. We just want to make sure that the money's getting to who needs it at the moment. So if you're wanting to contribute to that, please reach out to us. That is going till Saturday. This Saturday, that's August 26th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So you have until then to reach out to us or get to the Hub and pick up some raffle tickets and support an amazing, amazing cause.
Eric the Amazing is the guy that gave it back. So
Eric the Amazing, that's right. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Also, a shout out to I think Dave put on there a specific Edmonton Oilers fan. Donated a significant amount of money.
That's great.
For tickets.
Love that.
Yeah, so that's pretty good too. If you want more info and if you want the long version of that, we made a post on our Facebook and Twitter pages that's been shared around a couple times. Shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network, who is actually also our sponsor. We are part of the Hockey Podcast Network. Whatever your team, there is a podcast in the Hockey Podcast Network for it. So go to thehockeypodcastnetwork.com and check out all of the many talented shows that we have in the network. We will even be talking to them. Well, I will. You're previously engaged, but I will be making an appearance on the Pacific Division recap episode. They will be going live on YouTube with. I'm excited to see who's actually going to be showing up to this, and I can't wait to yell at some people.
Yeah, definitely.
I will definitely immediately take some very hard opinions and stick with them.
Yeah, I am a little sad that I'm missing it, because I definitely like to get it. Obviously, this is why we have a podcast. I like to get into it about hockey with people. So
that's, and that's what I say. Like, every once in a while we'll throw some shade out on the show or on Twitter, and you know what? It's all in good nature, folks. Like, we definitely don't hate any of these people or anything like that. We're trying to keep you guys laughing while also learning some hockey. And you know what? Rivalry is the spice of life.
Hell yeah.
I love it. If you weren't invested in rivalry, then why get into sports?
Yeah, I mean, you and I are the biggest rivals on the show.
That's true. We're constantly at odds. That's not true. We've been agreeing a lot lately, which is weird.
It's gross. I'm going to try not to today. Sick of it.
So yeah, tune into that. That is going to be, I believe, tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Yes,
Pacific time. I believe as well. Yeah. So jump onto that YouTube feed. You can find a link to that on for sure Twitter. You can jump onto links that we've shared on our page or the Hockey Podcast Network's page and check that out. And if not, if you miss it, there'll probably be a recording that we'll share as well, so you can check it out afterward.
Right on.
All right. I think that's about it for housekeeping, Taylor.
Yeah, sounds great.
Cool. Perfect. I think we did that pretty well. honestly.
Yeah, we're awesome.
So, folks, we're gonna start the show off with our long-awaited teased interview with John Cooper. But to kind of ease you into our interview with John Coop, I want to kind of set the stage for you. So, I first need to give another shout out here to a buddy of mine. His name is Danny, and
D-man.
Danny is the fellow kind of almost dead center in this photo that we have just put up on here. And for those who are unfamiliar with a lot of these faces, well, because some of them are just golf caddies that you wouldn't know. But some of them, if we have any Red Wings fans on here, might know the bald guy that's got his arm on my back and I've got my arm on his. Like we're buddies now, you know.
Yeah.
That's former Red Wings coach Jeff Blashill. And with him, John Cooper, who's kind of arms wide open, and everybody else on the Tampa Bay Lightning coaching staff, making their rounds in North Idaho, having some fun. They were out at Coop's place out at Gazer Ranch, where all the rich people go up here.
Sick. Look at all the Lightning shit in there.
Oh yeah. The word is that Coop is a big fan of dive bars.
Oh,
and
too, Coop. What up, Coop?
And Lakers is that.
It is the dive, huh?
It is a dive
Nice.
for sure, but in the best way possible, like in a way that you and I would frequent it quite often.
I mean, it does look like in this picture, it's like you guys just kind of took over the receptionist area in an office space, but that's cool.
It was.
She's like trying to do her job and shit. And you guys are just fucking.
It's definitely a motley crew of people. I can tell you that none of the employees of the bar are in this photo.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question or not. But there's definitely a couple randos that were just in the bar in this photo, myself included, technically speaking. But I got a nice invite from Danny to come out and meet what I would consider celebrities, you know.
Yeah,
so it was an absolutely awesome time. I got to drink and have such a wonderful time, just being able to talk puck with these like pros, these experts, these wise dudes of the game that just know their stuff. Like I never thought getting off of work on a Thursday, I would end up an hour later standing between John Cooper and Jeff Blashill, bellied up at a bar talking about, you know, Bobby Ryan and expansion teams and who's the best player in the league. And God, one of the best stories that I'll tell from this night was we were sitting around and this one kid was he was one of the caddies. In fact, it's the fella doing hang loose at the front.
Mm-hmm.
He's a huge Golden Knights fan and was making the wild accusation that Jack Eichel was the best player in the league.
Hello.
And it's even under dead sober normal. Yeah, even under dead sober normal circumstances, I'm going to disagree with that. So sure. Under not normal circumstances, I was going to voice my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And Coop, bless his soul, he was able to kind of get in to the conversation. He goes, "All right, you can't say me. Who's the best coach in the league?" Fuck. What do you do? Like that was my first reaction. I'm like, what do you do? Like, it is you. Like, it is you.
I mean, did you fuck with him? Did you say like, well, I wasn't gonna say you to begin with?
But... No, because like I could do that because like that's, I mean, you're sitting with the guy and that was more of like we weren't fucking around. Like that was like he was like wanting a legit answer.
Who'd you say? Who's the best coach in the NHL?
Well, because I was like, I can't say you. He's like, you can't say me. And honestly, like, I think even though, you know, like, are there other coaches in the league that like might have more cups or something? Maybe. But Coop, like, Tampa Bay has been always in the mix for like the last, 20 years, it feels like? 15 maybe?
I don't know if it's quite that long, but yeah, it feels like it's that long.
Okay, so maybe 10. 10 is probably a better number. It's felt like, at least as long as, you know, Stamkos has been on that team, that Tampa's always been in the mix. And as long as Coop has been there, it feels like that has been. So, I mean, my answer probably would have been Coop. But so I had to really think about it because I knew that this was going to be like a judge. Like, he was going to judge if I really knew my shit about hockey.
Yeah, 100%.
So I sat back and I thought about it for a second. I was like, all right, I got it. And he goes, all right, who? And I go, it's Rod Brind'Amour.
That's a good one.
He's like, you know what? That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. Rod's a good guy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, all right, I passed the fucking test.
Yeah. Because I would have, if you're trying to throw a little bit of clout too, I would have definitely brought up Trotz. I would have said current NHL coach Brandon Moore. I would say too. I don't disagree with that. Besides Coop,
Right.
but I think Trotz over the lot like Trotz freshly out of the coaching gig. I would still throw Trotz in that mix. I think
Well,
Trotz is
think
gonna be a
about
good
it though.
coach.
Like, I think this is a day and age where, like, if you're an old school type of coach, where it's, they saw Miracle too many times, and they're like, if they hate me, then they don't have time to hate each other, kind of thing. And you're just an absolute hard ass. Like nowadays, it's harder and harder to like be an asshole.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you don't hear like the shit that Babcock is accused of. Like the shit, Mike Commodore jumps online and says he like literally hates Babcock with a fiery passion.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just don't hear that kind of stuff about people like Coop or Brindamore,
Right.
or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say that Babcock did all those things. Like that's all it depends on who you talk to. Like if you go to the flagship podcast of hockey, Chicklets, Biz is a big fan of Babcock. So it just depends on who you talk to. But you don't hear that type of stuff from people like Coop and Rod Brindamore.
Right. Well, and I think, I agree. I think with especially where the NHL is going, but the modern NHL right now, it's better. It's better to kind of be one of the boys, right?
Yep.
Players want to fight for you because you're one of the boys, and if you fucking know what you're doing and you win them two cups, right, and you get them into the finals, 3 years in a row.
Yep.
I mean, you that speaks volumes. On top of they know they can go to a fucking dive bar with you in the middle of northern Idaho and have a good time, right? So
and we like talking, like learning about like their side of things and how it was. Like talking to Jeff Blashill about the Detroit Red Wings was, something that I never thought I was going to be able to do. I got to
That's
learn.
Pretty sick.
I got to learn and met like that was the team that I grew up with, and Jeff Blashill was the coach of that team. Granted, the Wings weren't the best during his tenure, unfortunately, but like still though, the fact that he was there and he was leading that team, and I was always rooting for him. I was always hoping that he was going to do okay. So got to learn a lot about and just talk about what he thinks of prospects on the team, and that was super cool. Even in this fellow in this picture, the fella in the red shirt and glasses, this is the goalie coach for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And man, this guy, I got to sit and talk about goalies across the NHL, and I want to give him a shout out because it was such a compliment when he said that I knew my shit. Like it's one thing coming from like somebody who doesn't know hockey, and like, wow, you really know hockey, but somebody who's in the biz that absolutely knows it. It was a huge honor to talk with him and hear that from him, and sitting there talking. I was very interested in goalie stuff. So I was like, like what's, okay, all right, who's the best goalies in the league? And he's like he just hit it. He goes, Vazzy, Shesterkin, Sorokin. And I go, 100%. Okay, yeah, that's not much to debate on that.
Who's the worst goalie?
Yeah, I didn't really get into that.
Come on, that's a fun one.
But because then I was like, that makes sense. And then I'm like, what, four is like probably Ottinger. Yeah. And then you'd be surprised to hear this. Well, not surprised, but like,
Helly.
Like, yeah, no, he goes, he's like 4 and 5 is probably Ottinger and Gibson.
No
and
shit,
I go,
man.
And I go, Gibson, really? He's like, he's been on a bad team for a while.
100%, dude. 100%.
And like and it was Coop that kind of chimed in on that a little bit, because he was talking about how Coop was on that really fun Team North America. You remember that during the World Cup?
Oh yeah, with the kids.
Yeah, with the kids. And because I said that, I was like, that must have been the funnest team. And he's like, it was a blast.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But one of the coolest parts of that was he was talking about how Matt Murray was the starter and he got hurt. There's a headline. Matt Murray gets hurt. So Gibby came in and he just impressed the shit out of him.
Yeah.
So
That's that long ago? That's that long ago. Holy fuck, dude. How old are we?
Old.
Good God, that seems like yesterday, man.
No, that's Team North America was that one fun year that we were like, what are they doing? Why?
Is that like Eichel? They have like Eichel and shit?
Maybe?
Oh, man.
Maybe?
Oh fuck, man, that's so long ago.
I'd have to look that. We'd have to look. That's a Googler right there. But yeah, no, that was definitely a good time. So and chatting with him, we even got to what's your favorite Red Wing? What's the best Red Wing of all time? And answers went around, and he liked my answer of Lindstrom because everybody everybody was saying Gordie Howe and Yzerman, the classics, and I'm like, how about the best defenseman that ever lived? And
besides
he's like,
Bobby Orr, but
but no, it's Nick Lindstrom, and he's like, no. He's like, I can get behind that. Nick Lindstrom for sure. Yep.
Yeah. I'll literally just be sitting there trying to figure out what to do with my life on random days, and I'll just pull up fucking Datsuk highlights. So, I mean, Datsuk's probably my favorite wing ever, but I would say Lindy's probably the best one.
That was one thing that Blash talked about when he first came onto the team, was like he was just, they were really hoping that Datsuk was going to come back, and when Dots said he was done, it really, it kind of just signaled something,
Right.
And then I don't think that's a secret. I think everybody knew that when Datsuk left, that was going to be the end of the era.
Well, I think it'd be God, I would have loved to be there, dude. I would have definitely picked his ear just about being. Blasho was essentially the fucking fall guy, right? I mean, like.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was in such a tough situation.
Yeah,
yep.
And that's such an interesting. I think being a homer, I think even with the Ducks, right? Like Dallas Eakins was kind of the fall guy. He was just like the middle guy that was there for 4 years while the Ducks were clearly in a fucking rebuild, right? That's a whole other ball game. You can't even even if you're good, you're bad because no one wants you to be good, right? Like it's crazy to me. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man. Yeah, it would have been a good time. I'm glad you got to do that, dude.
Yeah, it was a good team. Last thing on that with Blash, I just love it. Made my heart sing when he was, because I asked him, I was like, so what's the deal with Sider? Is he for real? And he's like, Sider's a real fucking deal. The guy's a stud.
Yeah.
Sider's a stud. And I'm like, so like top 3 defensemen in the league? He's like, definitely top 5.
Yeah, could be top 5.
That's what he was saying.
Sophomore slump. Yeah.
So
no, that's cool as shit.
No, it was definitely a great time. Shout out to everybody once again that was there, and shout out to the Tampa Bay coaching staff for having fun with some not random. I mean, I met one of the a couple weeks beforehand.
Last question: did Coop remember you at all?
No, Coop did not remember me at all. He did not.
He had the goggles on at the tournament, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we weren't in his eye line for very long. That was we talked to him after he was done on the 18th, and him and Gretz had to go throw back shots or something.
Yeah, well, they had.
Gretz, that's not even a secret. They told us that the Great One had too many to drink. So
yeah, the Great One's wife was definitely driving home that day.
Absolutely. Well, let's be real. They don't drive anywhere, probably.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they get in cabs with Kaner.
That's definitely true. Okay, cool. So without further ado, folks, let's go into our very brief, very short, but very funny interview with Coach Coop. Oh, wait. Maybe if it helped if I turned up the sound.
No video.
Sit here and say,
enjoying the sun.
80 degrees, sunny and beautiful, no humidity, no bugs.
Absolutely.
With a bunch of unreal people and for phenomenal cause.
So I was going to say, your trio.
It's 11 out of 10.
Holy shit.
Yeah, the trio was tough. I've won 2 Stanley Cups, and I was the low man on the pole.
Significantly crazy bar.
Yeah, so they're here. So Chelly.
You at least beat him on the golf course, sir,
Gretz was too hot today. Gretz was hot.
Do you fancy yourself as a golfer?
I fancy myself as a good dad.
Good answer. All right, one NHL question.
Yeah.
How you feeling about the next season?
I always feel good about the next season.
Always. Okay.
We, if there's a team that knows how to get it done, it's the Tampa Bay Lighting.
Do you have a favorite addition that you guys made this season? One that stands out among the rest?
Favorite addition? I'm coming.
Yeah?
I like all our ads.
Okay.
They're all good.
Good.
Honestly, it's few ways, like every year we lose a part of our Stanley Cup.
Sure.
Yeah. But everybody, our GM is so good. He brings in unbelievable guys. So
Awesome.
always look forward to the year.
Awesome.
All right.
That's a good dad.
All right.
Love
That
it.
was it, folks.
I love it. Good
Very
dad. And he literally pointed to his kid like, "Am I a good dad?" And his kid was like, "Fuck yeah, dude."
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
sick.
If you guys haven't from the last like 10 minutes of talking, if you guys haven't picked up, John Cooper is a really good dude.
Yep. For sure. Yep. Good
Definitely a
stuff,
beauty.
man. Good stuff.
Definitely. All right, folks. Without further ado, let's jump into our teased Atlantic preview.
Yeah. Let's get it, dude.
All right. So
Our picks are in.
They are. I'll actually I'll pull those up right now.
Yeah.
Taylor, you want to start us off? I think this is the only team on here. But while I'm pulling this up, I think it's the only team on here that we agree positioning wise. Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, they're dead fucking last.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get Jake Allen between the pipes, buddy.
Oh.
And a decor that literally like they probably should have some parts like some tryouts happening at camp this year to see who the fucking fit behind Mike Matheson is their top defenseman. So, yeah, they're gonna struggle. They're definitely gonna struggle this year. Shit, man, it's just but they're super young, super fucking young. They got a lot to look forward to. They brought in a couple guys, right? They brought in Dvorak, I believe. I don't think he was there last year. Don't fact check me on that, so I can be right. But yeah, I mean they got some kids on this team that I'm excited about. So Caden Gooley was a fairly high pick. I think he was like 12 or 14. So definitely someone to kind of keep an eye on the back end of things, but it's just all over the board. It's just young guys. It's just young guys. This team. Can I tell you one thing that I do have a prediction about for this team though?
What do you got?
This team's gonna come out hot.
I can see that.
Yeah, young guys, a lot of young guys, but kind of sprinkle in a couple guys like Gallagher's definitely. He's not gonna go away sleeping. Sean Monahan, right? They kind of have some of those guys that still kind of want to be a part of the league, and so they're definitely. I think there's a good chance that this team kind of comes out a little hot, but then falls back down to earth real quick. Think Buffalo like 2 years ago where they came out really hot and then still missed the fucking playoffs again, right? So I think that's kind of what I'm seeing from this team, but yeah, I mean, healthy Cole Caulfield will help. Nick Suzuki's still a very good two-way center. They got some of those guys that Slavkovsky, who we barely got to fucking see last year. It'll be really cool to see him, see how he's progressed in a season. So definitely, and Caden Gooley, obviously. Caden Gooley, of those guys, I'm probably most excited to see like a full season out of. So they have some guys, but they're just really young, right? To me, it's pretty close to the Ducks.
Yeah.
But without having John Gibson, right? I mean, it's very similar to that.
I level with you on the coming out hot, but looking at their schedule right now, like coming out of the gate hot for them might be going 500 for October.
Oh yeah, like, I'm not saying they're lighting the fucking world on fire. I'm saying
Buffalo will be like 10-2 in their first 12 or something like that, and then just crash. Whereas I'm looking at the schedule right here, on the road in Toronto, loss. Well, actually, for some reason they always beat Toronto for some reason.
Yeah.
So maybe
that's a game they'll win.
Yeah. Chicago will be a dogfight because they're both bad.
Yeah.
They'll be in Chicago, or no, they'll be at home. So maybe Bedard will be doing something. Minnesota Wild at home, Capitals at home, Buffalo on the road, Devils at home, Columbus at home, Winnipeg at home, Vegas on the road. So it's a mix of like teams that are just going to blow your doors off and teams you actually got a shot against.
Yeah, I mean, my thing there is, right, like, even if they're playing good teams at the beginning of the season, there could be a little bit of playoff hangover for those good teams, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like a team like the Canadiens are like, well, fuck, we haven't played any sort of good competitive hockey for, half a fucking year at this point, right? So like, we're well rested. So,
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know a little more about the young guys, so you can speak a little more on this. I'm looking at this roster, and it looks like a bunch of NHL 2024 generated people.
Yes.
Guys that are playing on the first and second lines that should probably, is Kirby Doc good? Yeah, but he's probably a second line guy. Alex Newhook is probably a second to third line guy. Dvorak is probably a second to third line guy. Anderson, at this point, you got to think that he's kind of a bust.
He's just the dad, dude.
Yeah.
That's Daddy Anderson.
Yeah, and then Brendan Gallagher, Jake Evans, Slakowski. Yeah, it's. I mean, there's maybe some hope in the future. And that's, if there's any hope to be had, it's on this offensive line. You go back to the D, Matheson, Savard, Harris. This is just they might as well just. Yeah, they might as well just put 5 defensemen on the ice. And when Jake Allen is your starting goalie, backed up by Sam Montembeault, the career backup, it's a bad team. This is a really bad team, and they will finish last in this division.
Yeah, 100%. There's a bright future ahead.
Yes.
For this team, but it's not going to be for the next 3 years.
Their rebuild might go a little faster than like fucking Buffalo's or Detroit's or Ottawa's. Jesus Christ.
I mean, Caulfield's a fucking stud. So
yeah. So the next part, let's get into this. We'll start with maybe Ottawa and then go to Buffalo. You and I have them essentially at the same spot. We flip flopped them a little bit, but basically in the same realm. But these, this little like trio at the bottom, the Red Wings, the Sabres, the Ottawa Senators. Pretty much, I wouldn't say interchangeable, but like they're having a mid-off, so to speak.
Sure. I like that.
Yeah. Basically, like if there's a wild card of these 3 that proves me wrong, I think it's Buffalo.
Same. Like
it could be Buffalo that like takes that next step, and we're like, I'm not doubting that Buffalo is going to take that next step. Looking at their roster, it's incredible. Like the amount of young talent on this team,
100%.
Like they're too good not to be there. It's too much to not be good in a year or 2. But you've got question marks still. Is Levi for real?
Right. That's the biggest question mark.
I think that's the biggest question. He had limited experience in the NHL last year, but if he's not for real, then this team is looking at rounding out the bottom.
And I don't know if it's necessarily even if he's for real or not. I think he played 7 games, dude.
Yeah. But there's nobody to. It's not like they have a plan B.
Right. There's
like
nobody.
It's him.
Behind him.
Like it's him, or they're like if you have the 500th ticket, you're playing goalie that night.
Sure, that'd be pretty sick.
Just go ahead, sir. Sir, come to the side, please.
Yeah.
Is there something wrong? Did the metal detector go off or something? No, sir. You're actually going to be playing goalie tonight.
Yeah. We're playing the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 1. So good fucking.
So you'll probably win. Like
yeah. There's a good chance that you're worse than or better than the e-bug that we're gonna bring in. So
God damn it, that would be a good way to draw ticket sales, though, right?
Fuck yeah, dude. You know what? It wouldn't even be that. It would be people like capitalism, right? So it would be someone would have to pay. Yep. Just an ungodly amount of money in order to play in between the pipes for him.
Maybe just that, like, all right, tonight's starting lineup: Jeff Skinner, Tage Thompson, Alex Tuck, Matthias Samuelson, Rasmus Dahlin, and
Bobby Brown.
No last name, and Bob.
And Prince.
Bob had seats in section 103 tonight. He's getting some on-ice tickets.
Congratulations to Bob. They're just waiting at the bottom of the fucking stanchions for. They got pads and shit for him.
His fucking family's sitting in the ticketed seats they've got. They're just waving.
Hi. Put them in the recliners, man.
This is Bob's son, Jimmy. Jimmy, how do you feel about your dad playing goalie tonight? It's great.
He's gonna die.
He's gonna get shelled.
How's our insurance policy on Dad?
Yeah, that's the first story. Like hockey. First off, like Toronto freaks out. They're like, "How dare they field some random against us?" And then it's just takes of like, and the Maple Leafs dropped the game 6-2.
6 rip. It's another shutout from an E-Bug.
Bob sets out a shutout. Has been offered an entry-level contract here.
Bob's just laying down on the ice. just throwing his blocker and his glove up as high as he can.
He's just stacking the pads every time, and Matthews and Marner just keep throwing it right, just bounce it off.
Oh shit! Yeah, so yeah, this you're right. I like the middle of the pack, right? So this I can see 5 through 7 kind of going any direction, right? I think we're fairly similar on that, but it's who's going to get hot, and I think for me on my rankings, having Buffalo at 7, it's all about Levi, dude.
Yeah.
If Levi can be. If Levi can improve on his 7 games, he had a I think like a 2.9. Let me get you some actual numbers here.
In your opinion, what's the save percentage that he needs to get Buffalo into playoffs? 9-15, 9-10?
9-15 is the exact number I was thinking. Yeah, he needs to have a 9-15 because that's their hole, right?
This is not a defensively minded team. Like this is a up and coming offensive juggernaut of a team.
Yes, and I think well, you know what? I'll throw a little bit of a wrench in there for you.
Okay.
A team with Dahlin and Power, and even Matthias Samuelsson is nobody to kind of really forget about. I think this team overall just has really filled positions. This team is going to be a pure juggernaut. When you see the Tampa Bays, you see Boston's going to fall off potentially even this year. Right, you start to see those fall-offs from those teams in this division that have kind of been leading the fucking charge for, like we were talking about the last essentially 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Buffalo is going to be one of those teams that is just so built around just high caliber talent at a young age. I think this is just filling out to be an absolute fucking juggernaut in like.
This is gonna. I think this year it's gonna be run and gun for sure.
Yeah.
If you asked me the question, but Chance, what if in, November, December, Buffalo trades for Gibson? I go, oh, this is a playoff team.
That's a playoff team, 100%.
This is a playoff team, 100%. Like
100%.
The Buffalo Sabres of these 3 teams are the ones that can either round out the bottom or make a push for the wild card. Like they are to me, they're the one of these 3 that is the most. They're the most fuck, I can't even think of the word.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. I think if they make a trade for, throw names out there, right? Gibson, Hellebuck, right? They make a trade for goalies that are on the trade block, right?
If Hellebuck gets on this team is going to be sick.
Either of those guys. I mean, like you were saying, dude, like Gibson is still realistically, if he wasn't on the Anaheim Ducks of the last 4 to 5 years, he is a top 5 goalie in the fucking league, and Hellebuck's right there with him, right? So I mean, I think you throw Otter into that mix, right? So it kind of bumps one of those guys out of the top 5, but
it's crazy that one of the 5 top goalies in the league is like available.
Both of them, right? Yeah. So just for conversation sake, right? Throw Ottinger at 6. You got 2 top 5 tendies that are technically on the trade block right now in Gibson and Hellebuck. If Buffalo is like, okay, Levi's so say Levi does what he kind of did in his 7 games, right? He's a 292.905, right? That's who he is. That's what they're kind of seeing he is right now, right? He might not get to a top 10 goalie until 3 years down the road. You bring in a guy like Gibson or Hellebuck, that's the hole on this team, right? So this team to me can jump up into that 3-4 spot easily. All right, that's the game breaker. So I have them at 7, and it really is just Levi. I mean, what they did points wise, what they did last year, with Greg Anderson and who is it? It's like it's their backup this year. It's like Jesus Luukkonen, right? Seeing what they did last year with those guys, right? Even if Levi doesn't take a step, there's a good chance they're right around the wild card, and they bring in one of those top 5 tendies. Look out! I mean, this is a team that is just going to be an absolute fucking workhorse. So Yeah, definitely. And that was one of our comments on Twitter, right? Like, oh, you got Buffalo super low, and I agree, right? I think there's a very good chance that they can pop up there real quick, even if they don't trade for Attendee. I think if Levi has a season, but as it sits right now, Levi kind of came out hot, but what he posted in 7 games last year isn't going to get them into the playoffs. It's just
No,
not.
no,
So,
it's they're going to have to strike, and if he is, then it's the thing, because I don't think there's any doubting the the firepower that this team has. Like this is a team that is coming into form, and it's not later, it's going to be sooner. Like if it's not this year, it's the year after, or maybe even the year after.
yeah,
But like
they're really close.
they're coming up to their window. Like they're on the precipice of their window.
Yeah.
Whereas Ottawa and the Red Wings. So, as we've talked about before, Red Wings and Ottawa Senators Twitter really don't like each other at the moment.
Which we
for reasons, to bring cat and all that kind of shit. I think the safe bet here of these three is the Detroit Red Wings saying that they're number 5 and they're the wild card hopeful, kind of thing. And it's not necessarily because their roster blows me away. And we could probably get away from our picks now and pop up Daily Face-Off. But it's not that their roster blows me away. It's that team is it's the most like solid, I guess you could say. Like there's not a lot of wild cards that I'm sitting here going like, I wonder what David Perron's gonna do. Like you can count on David Perron to score 25 goals.
Right.
Like JT Compher is probably going to score 20 goals. Andrew Kopp, after recovering from core surgery, he'll probably score 20 goals. There's a lot of certainty, and like for the first time in a while, like you can kind of look at this roster and be like, I have a pretty good idea what the Red Wings are going to do this year.
I mean, looking at
barring injuries.
Yeah, there's some names on this forward group that aren't necessarily household names.
Yeah.
But I think they're very close. They're a lot closer to being 4 lines deep than they've been in this entire rebuild, right? So I do, and that's why I like them. I do like that. Yep. I think they made a couple good additions to the back end as well. And having Alex DeBrincat, who could easily put up, like, it's not out of the question for him to have a 50-goal season, right? I think you're just kind of They're right in that mix, man. There's definitely a potential for them to, surpass a team like Boston, who just lost not only their top 2 centers, but 2 of their glue guys, right? 2 of the guys that have been around for a long time for them.
Yes.
So and
we'll get into Boston here in a second.
Yeah. You get into their deep pairings. I mean, Shane Gostisbehere is a completely underrated addition, right? And then you start getting into the Ben Sherratts and the Jeff Petrie, who haven't been complete needle movers, but more serviceable than they've had, right? So I mean, I think it was a good offseason even before DeBrincat, right? I know they just brought in Petrie, but like, I think it was still a pretty decent offseason for them before that, and bringing in a guy who, that's what you need in the NHL, right? Like that's how you win games, is scoring goals, and bringing in DeBrincat just completely elevates that. So
it gives them the scoring, the goals they need to actually make them a serious contender for like winning games and getting into that wild card conversation. Yeah. The defensive additions, like it is the trio of Jeff Petrie and Justin Hull just screaming defensive solidarity? No, but like, in fact, this is almost like a backhanded compliment. And like adding Jeff Petrie to your team was a positive.
Yeah.
Like he replaced, like there were Montreal Canadiens fans saying like, oh, Gustav Lindstrom, he's a hopeful top 4 defenseman. I'm like, no, he's not. Gustav Lindstrom was barely he was the 7th defenseman on the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah. He's still young though, so
he is. Yeah, and I get that.
I don't mind that move for them, but
it's going to a team that is trying to just be hopeful and hope that young guys are going to figure it out. I get that, but Gustav Lindstrom was on if Gustav Lindstrom was in like the Vegas system, he wouldn't see an NHL rink.
No, he wouldn't.
So like the fact, so yeah, will he get playing time in Montreal? Probably.
Yeah.
But like, I just don't like it. It's not just Gustav. If he was going to move the needle and be a part of the future, it probably would have happened by now. And at this time in his career, he is, he's that seventh man, eighth man, between the press box and the team, or a long enough cold streak, the AHL. So the Jeff Petrie, while coming off a pretty rough year with the Pittsburgh Penguins, is an addition for Gustav Lindstrom. So
Well,
I look at this defensive team. Is it elite? No, of course not. But is it an NHL caliber level defense from first to last? Yes.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. This, just kind of following from kids and things like that.
Yeah.
Jeff Petrie, Justin Hull have any sort of a injury, God forbid, or
Yes.
get off to a bad start. There's this kid, I don't know if you've heard of him, Simon Edvinsson, that is just ready to fucking go. And this kid could instantly move right up to that fucking second pairing, in my opinion.
Yep.
Right? So, worst case scenario, one of those two guys, Justin Hull, realistically, and then you got to shuffle the D pairing a little bit, because I do not want Edvinsson and Shane Gostisbehere together. But that kid can instantly fill that hole, and it's not a big deal, right? So I really, I'm not super concerned about this D pair. What I am concerned about, Chance,
yes,
is this goaltending. Yeah. And it's just, that's where they could have a problem. I think
I would rank it more as a question mark and less of a concern.
Yeah, I agree.
Concern means that we're starting out on a bad foot. Like Ville Husso has shown streaks. Like he has, like in St. Louis, he showed that he could handle at least a starter's role during the regular season. And last year he got shelled quite a bit, but he did okay. I think with a better defense in front of him, Ville Husso will play better. And James Reimer is a reliable backup goalie in this league who will, take 10, 15 games off of his workload. So
I think you're looking at a very, I don't know if you know this, but we're, we kind of focus on the Kraken a little bit.
Yep.
This is a little bit of a Kraken-esque team to me.
A worse version of the Kraken, yeah.
Well, I would argue that they're actually very similar. I think the D
really?
The D is actually better on this team, in my opinion. And then but then I think where they're close to, a defensive lineup that has Jamie Alexiak and brought in Brian Dumoulin as their big fucking off-season signing. It's just not a team to me that screams, this is a top six that people should be afraid of. So
that doesn't hit me as bad though. That just hits me as meh. Whereas like Moritz Seider's a stud. Jake Wallman is a surprise stud.
Right.
Not to the degree that Seider is, but Jake Wallman has come into his own and played quite well last year. Ben Sherratt, I think he's a bad hockey player. Like he's
where he needs to be on this team though. He needs to be in a second D pairing role. That's where he needs to be.
He needs to be on a third pairing D role in Grand Rapids.
No, I'm not going that far. I would say by the end of the year I could easily see him on a third pairing because you put Ben Sherratt with say Edvinsson.
And the fact that Petrie and Sherratt are going to be on, like the Montreal Canadiens, they just puked videos of them just like having multiple defensive breakdowns.
Yeah.
Like they were getting run out of Montreal basically. So now they've been rejoined. I'd be curious to see if Lone keeps them together.
Gostisbehere is definitely gonna be on that second pairing. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah,
he's not gonna play third pairing minutes.
So Petrie, I'm like, I know what we're gonna get with Petrie. He'll probably have a little better of a season. I think Sherratt is bad. I actually have high hopes for Gostisbehere, and Hull, I'm cautiously pessimistic about that. Like, is he as bad as Toronto makes him out to be? No, but I think that he's just maybe he'll round out the bottom pair third and he'll be a good bottom guy. But
I think Edvinsson wins.
You think so? Okay.
On this top six in camp, he's too good. He's two way too. Like he's good offensively, not supreme. He's not top of the crop. he's still not even like a Jake Sanderson type of two-way defenseman. But in 2-3 years he could be that good. Like I think
Yep.
I am that high on that kid. So
I agree.
I think he could easily crack this roster, and a roster where maybe Ben Sherrod or Jeff Petrie definitely moves down to that third pairing. They are a good fit on a third pairing, right? So
Sure.
I think with knowing that Edvinson's there, that's where you want to be. So
cool. All right, I buy that. Moving on to the Ottawa Senators of this mid-off, and then we'll take a little break for a second.
Okay.
But the Ottawa Senators, they are, and I swear this isn't Red Wings bias, but like of the three teams that are supposed to be here, like fighting it out, I just don't like. They didn't do it. Like it got worse, right? Like they got worse from last year, not better.
You can't get rid of 26? You can't get rid of a 26-year-old in his prime goal-scoring winger in Alex DeBrincat and think that you got better.
Like
you
can't the people trying to say that like the Ottawa Senators trying to sit here and argue that like signing Tarasenko to like a 1-year $5 million deal is a good that is a prove it deal through and through. And the only way that he's going to prove it is by scoring 30 goals.
Yeah, and he's got to be between 30 and 40 to feel good about it.
Yeah, otherwise he is like, if I guarantee you, Sens fans, I'm sorry, but if Ottawa is on the outside looking out come trade deadline, Senko's gone.
He's gone.
Like he is going to a contender, and your team is once again in wild card hell.
Right.
Sorry, that's just what it is. Getting Dominic Kubalik does help round out your third line. I do think highly of Dominic Kubalik, but he's he is what he is. He's not a good guy. Josh Norris, while I think you and I are both very high on Josh Norris, but he's coming off of missing a whole year.
Yeah, he's gonna be rusty.
He is gonna be rusty, even if it's. So I'm that's a big question mark. Vlad Tarasenko is just not going to replace Alex DeBrincat. I don't see that. Like Vlad is he's a older, less defensively minded version of DeBrincat.
Sure.
And that is not what this team needs.
No.
So like I'm not sitting here all doom and gloom. Brady Tkachuk's an absolute stud. Tim Stützle's an absolute stud. Senko still has some left in the tank. Drake Batherson's good. Josh Norris, if he's healthy, is good. Claude Giroux is still a stud, but he's at the tail end of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of this is pretty meh.
Yeah.
It's not something to. I'm not saying it's bad. It's definitely better than what it has been. But God, I just. It's kind of like Buffalo, where you look at this offensive line. This is a worse version of Buffalo, where you're okay. They're getting a little better on offense. I can get around to that. Ooh, this defense, interesting. Is it better than what it's been? Yeah. Does it scream? Does it scream secured to me? No.
No, it doesn't. I think. Yeah. I mean, Brandstrom and Hamonic are where they need to be. Artem Zub is okay. I think he's decent defensively. He's a serviceable guy. I think it's definitely a spot that if Ottawa was truly serious about pushing, I think that's probably an area of improvement.
Yeah, right? They could use some defensemen.
He's probably more of a third pairing guy in my eyes, right? But a top pairing of Jacob Chychrun and Thomas Chabot is probably the best top pairing of the three in this realm, right? So, and then add in Jake Sanderson, who, when they drafted him, I definitely wanted Jamie Drysdale over Jake Sanderson. Jake Sanderson cooked a little longer in NCAA, and it worked out really well. This kid is, I mean, is he going to be as good as there's been a couple analysts who are just taking the tip to the lips on Jake Sanderson, but I don't know if he's going to be that good, but he's definitely, I think he could potentially be, another Jacob Chychrun light, right? I mean, that's, and that's saying quite a bit. So yeah, I don't mind this deep D setup here. I think, kind of in that spot, in the Zub spot or Zub spot, whatever it is a little questionable. I think where Ottawa why I'm taking Ottawa over Buffalo in this situation is, I think their goaltending is better out the gate, right? Like, I know what I'm getting in Korpisalo.
It's fair.
Anton Forsberg has been serviceable since he's been in Ottawa. He's been a serviceable goalie as well. So, having that 1-2 punch, I would argue that 1-2 punch is almost, I'd say it's probably better or the same level as the Red Wings. So, that definitely
I'd say it's
helps
better.
their cause.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll give them
right.
goaltending. I think it's better than those two teams we just talked about for sure.
Yeah, agreed. So I think that's definitely I'm a little higher on Ottawa for that regard, at least.
That's fair. I just basically what it came down to for me for Ottawa was that I look at the changes they made over the offseason and they didn't get better.
Yeah.
If best case scenario, they stayed exactly the same with level of talent. Like, with what they lost and what they added, they basically just replaced what they lost. They didn't get better.
Yeah, I think you're banking on some of the young guys taking a step, right?
You're banking on the young guys taking a step, and you're banking that Jonas Korpisalo is going to play a little better than Cam Talbot.
The way Cam Talbot played and was injured most of last year, I think you definitely see a little bit of improvement on the goaltending side of things. But yeah, I agree. It's a slight downgrade from Tarasenko to DeBrincat, or other way around, I guess, technically. But, yeah. So I think they're still going to be on the outside looking in. I think you can't have Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle and Josh Norris, because we both definitely like Josh Norris.
So maybe we both played safe on this, because we both have the Red Wings at 5 in this division. That kind of makes them like flirting with the wild card, so to speak.
Sure.
I think that's just it's the smart move, because the Red Wings are like, I look at that roster and there's less unknowns. Like, I know what I'm getting from the Red Wings. I'm going to get a slightly above average hockey team.
Yeah.
Whereas with Ottawa and Buffalo, it could go either way.
100%.
It's agree. And I replied to our buddy Dave, who runs the Florida Panthers podcast in the Pod Network. What's up with Florida, why do you have these Florida's wild card, that kind of thing. I think that our point was basically like, there's no doubt that all three of these teams, especially Ottawa and Buffalo, have taken steps forward. I just don't know if the teams in front of them have taken enough steps back yet to make it worthwhile.
I agree.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the only team that is a big question mark for me is Boston, and we'll get into them after the break. But I think that's definitely. This is exactly what you want to see from these three teams, though, right? You want to see the progression. You want to see them getting younger and better, right? And I think all three of these teams, clearly Buffalo is better, right? They need a goaltender, and they could be in the conversation. Ottawa, to me, is still young, right? They're just kind of, and bringing in Jacob Chikrin is a great move, and I think this team really has a bright future as well with a nice tendy on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Red Wings, right? They're still young. We're kind of banking on the Lucas Raymonds and the Moritz Seiders of the world to have a bounce back year this year, right? And so I think that puts them ahead of the other two in my mind. So I think these three.
It's just a more reliable team.
Next.
Like if Raymond and Seider kind of do that they did last year with the supporting cast that they have around them, I think that this is going to be a more solid team. We know that Daniel Sprong is reliable. Like, you can count. In fact, on daily face, if they get him on the third line, I bet he gets top line minutes in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean?
I think line 2, I would switch him and Bergeron out and call it good, man.
And barring injuries, I do see him maybe getting some time, up higher. So
the reason he is on line 3, Chance, defensive liability.
It's fair. Yeah, absolutely. But that first line is definitely set in stone as long as they're healthy, and that's a good line. Like Alex DeBrincat, Dylan Larkin, and Lucas Raymond. If everybody's firing on all cylinders, or even just 70-75%, that's a good line. That's going to put up a lot of points. That second line, it's like I said, it's just I look at these names and I go, okay, I know what I'm getting. it's like DeBrincat is a fucking stud. Larkin's a fucking stud. Raymond, at worst he's going to give me 20 goals.
He's like 22. He's going to be okay.
Yeah, but even if he has another down year, he's going to give me 20 goals.
Sure.
Bergen, if he has a bad year, I'm thinking, 15, 20 goals. JT Compers, probably 20 goals. David Perron's going to give me 20, 25 goals. Robbie Fabry, I'd like to think that Fabry is going to take a step forward if he can fucking stay healthy for once in his life.
2025 is not a question for him either.
Yeah, if he stays healthy. Coop, I'm hoping to have a really big rebound season.
Yeah.
I would be happy with 15 from him. Sprung, I do like. I have. This is the one where I would put pressure on. Like I want Sprung to have 20, 25 goals.
Yeah, which he can do.
Yeah,
in the right,
I think so.
in the right position, right?
The
right.
So if you're getting those numbers from those top three lines, all you need is that fourth line to just not fuck up.
Yeah, which
don't get scored on,
fourth.
and this team makes a push for the wild card, 100%. Like you look at all those, you know what you're getting. Whereas like if we did that breakdown with the other two teams, we're like, fucking, here, let's
Shane
go to
Pinto.
Yeah, we'll go to that's a better example. Let's go to Ottawa real quick. It's like, Pinto, like, could be 30 goals, could be 15 goals.
Could be 10.
Could be 10 goals. Yeah, could be Josh Norris, could be 0 goals.
Sure.
Like
we don't anyways.
What's that?
He's more of a passer anyways. So.
Sure. Senko, looking even Senko in his later years now, like he's been an inconsistent player. I think he did tear it up a little bit with New York. He was reinvigorated a little bit, but he wasn't the barn burner that they were expecting.
Right.
And like, there's a reason why St. Louis wanted to get rid of him when we all thought that Vladimir Tarasenko was probably going to be a franchise player for them. Giroux, does he got one more year left in the tank? Is he going to put up 30 goals?
No, he's probably a 20-25 guy.
Yeah, probably. But so there's just a lot of unknowns with this team. And same with Buffalo. Like I'm a little more optimistic with Buffalo, but like you said, it's all about taking that next step. Like Tage Thompson's fucking stud. He's going to score quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Alex Tuck, stud. You can count on him for 20, 25 goals. Jeff Skinner, the definition of the fucking wild card player. Like you have no idea what you're going to get from Jeff Skinner.
Yeah.
He'll show up one year and just absolutely tear it up, and then you'll get 15 goals.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like these teams. I could see any of these three teams jumping into that wild card spot and bumping someone. Realistically, in my opinion, it's Boston. But
I agree. So before we get into that, folks, if tell you something about myself, I got pretty nasty ADHD, and from years of sneakily listening to my headphones in middle of class. I did that. I had those long sweatshirts, and I would feed headphones up through my sweatshirt, and I would sit like this.
And hot dogs.
Yeah. Hot dogs.
You haven't seen I Think You Should Leave on Netflix? No. Oh gosh, come on, get with it, dude.
All right, I'll get with the world. But so listening to music on full blast, I got pretty nasty tinnitus too. So sitting in quiet places does not go well for me. I need to be listening to something when I'm at work or when I'm in the house doing chores or something like that. And when I want to do that, I pick up a pair of Raycon earbuds. Folks, I will throw on anything from music. I listen to audiobooks. I listen to comedy routines. Shout out to our buddy, like up there, Norm Macdonald, the king of comedy, gone too soon. R.I.P. Hell, today I was listening to beach noises because I needed to relax a little bit.
There you go.
Yeah. So having a good pair of earbuds is very important to me. And right now, Raycons are the best way to listen. Use earbud tap functions to toggle between 3 customizable sound profiles, noise isolation, and awareness mode. Raycons have a 32-hour battery life, including 8 hours of playtime, so you can listen to what you want, when you want, for a really long time. They come with custom gel tips for the most comfortable in-ear fit. They start at half the price of other premium audio brands, but they sound just as good. You know what we're talking about, folks. And Raycons come with a 30-day happiness guarantee, so you really can't lose. Create your own soundtrack with Raycon. Buy now. The Hockey Podcast Network listeners can get 15% off their Raycon order at buyraycon.com/THPN. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to save 15% off on Raycons. One last time, buyraycon.com. Use the code THPN.
15% off. Good headphones at an already
discounted rate, yeah.
Price.
It's pretty good.
It's unreal. Well, Chance, in between, if you need something else to do besides just listening to music, there is something that you can do during any sort of season, sports season, whatever you're trying to watch, whatever you're trying to play. DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN as in the Hockey Podcast Network. Bet just $5 to score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN as in the Hockey Podcast Network, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER in Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050, or visit gamblinghelpline.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. In West Virginia, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. All games regulated by West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-4777 or visit ccpg.org. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. 1 boost per eligible game. Opt-in required. Max bet $50. 10 plus leg required for 100% boost. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.com/DraftKings/baseball terms. There you go.
All right, folks. There's your mid-roll. There's our sponsors. Jumping back into the last half of the Atlantic Division wrap-up here. Folks, we've already kind of alluded to some of these teams, but let's get into it. We kind of had all over same 4 teams, just different orders. And honestly, I don't think that one of us would sit here and be like, oh, it's got to be. No, it's
you're so wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, I was very down making this list. It's Buffalo. I think you were saying Boston, and I agree with that 100%. I think it's even Florida goes into that mix. So
yeah,
let me hit on both of these kind of as we jump back and forth on both these teams. I think that so Florida is very much in the position of that Montreal team that went to the Stanley Cup a few years back. Like they just had an incredible run. They barely squeaked into the playoffs. A miracle run, almost got it, just fell short. Was that the spark that's going to get this? Like, is this just the beginning and now this team's a juggernaut? Or was that it's one shot? Like that was its miracle run and now it's going to be Montreal. I'd like to think a team with a Kachuk on it is okay, like can avoid that fate. But that being said, man, I just get that feeling, I've got that feeling that they're just not like somebody pointed it out. They got into the playoffs on the last day.
Yeah.
Like we sit here and we talk about here in the NHL of like, oh, all you got to do is make it into the playoffs. And I agree 100%. I sit here going like, I cannot with a straight face tell you that the Florida I'm not penciling them in as a playoff team.
Yeah. I'm a little more bullish on this team. And my reason being, it just really depends if you're going to see playoff Bob or regular season Bob, right? What are we going to see during the entire year, right? Are we going to see a Bob that, is going to build off of what he did in the playoffs last year, because up until the finals, he was in the MVP talk. Like he was playing to that contract, and he really was. He was playing really good. The only subtraction in my mind from their forward group is obviously Anthony Duclair, right? There's a little bit, and they didn't really even get a ton of Anthony Duclair last year. They really did have some injuries on this team, and I think that really hurt them during the regular season.
Sure.
But I mean, you're basically replacing Anthony Duclair with Evan Rodriguez, who is just a little more defensive than Anthony Duclair, right? He can still put the puck in the back of the net.
God,
Not
look
at
at
the
those
rate.
injuries.
Yeah, and so we'll get to the D pairings in a second, because those guys don't even show up on the lineup. But I think from the forward group, it's essentially the exact same thing that they had in the playoffs, right? You're going to get a fresh, healthy team here, right? You're not going to have Barkov that's going to be banged up, so.
Fair. I'm just saying, like, I understand injuries are a thing. Like Vegas has shown us that, like, sometimes it is just injuries. God, I love these top two lines. I agree with you 100% on Evan Rodriguez, but these bottom two lines, they are mediocre at best.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm switching out Nick Cousins and Denisenko, or however you say his name, Denisenko. So that's closer to, I think, probably what their line combinations are going to be, especially as clutch as Nick Cousins was in the playoffs last year.
I think you're leaning really hard on Matthew Tkachuk and Barkov to really carry their weight in offense. You're hoping that Sam Reinhart's going to have a bounce back year. You're hoping that Brandon Montour is for real.
Sure.
Because he had an absolutely monster year. Shout out to Brandon Montour. Kudos for him for sure. But you're really hoping that he is for real and can do it again. To me, I don't know. Maybe it's they had the miracle run, and kudos to it. But like, I'm just getting those Montreal vibes of like that was it, and I don't think that they're going to do it. The odds of them doing it again, are quite small.
Yeah, I still think this team is probably a first round exit over doing what they did with the miracle season last year. But I think for me, this is a better structured team than even the likes of Boston, right? I mean, I like Brad Marchand, I like Pasternak, but tell me who else is on this team, right? Tell me who else is on that Boston forward group, right? They moved on from Hall.
Well, I don't like OEL either, but
you know what? I think OEL is good in what he is probably going to actually be on this team, which is a third pairing guy.
Sure.
Right. So I think going back to the D pairs, Brandon Montour, even if he has 75% of the season that he had last year, that is a great defenseman, right? That's a great return on that guy. You're obviously going to get Ekblad. Hopefully he can stay healthy. That's been one of his bigger issues in the league, getting drafted first overall back in the day. So this top six on the D side of things is very nice, even after losing Radko Gudas, which is just hilarious to say.
Sure.
Right? But I think their D pairings are very solid, right? So I think their big question mark for me, especially with having a very similar personnel to what I saw in the playoffs last year, to where they were all healthy and I could see their full potential as a unit. I actually don't mind that. I think your fourth line is your fourth line, right? Lomberg and those guys and shit like that. I mean, Lomberg is just there to be a pest, right? That's what he's there for. Sure. So, I mean, your top nine, realistically, Anton Lundell could potentially take another step forward. Luosterainen had some nice patches of work last year on that line. So, being rounding out that third line. So I like their top nine. I really do like their top nine, and then I really like their D pairings if they can be healthy. Sure. I think the big question mark for me is obviously just Bob. Like, what's the goaltending going to look like, right? Is Stolar is going to get a bunch of starts because Bob is going to fall back down to being shitty? Are we going to see Spencer Knight? What does the goalie situation look like? And if Bob can play playoff Bob, fuck, man.
No, it's seeing that, and that's the problem. Like, if Florida can get their way into the playoffs again, I agree with you on a lot of the points you just made. You know that I'm high on Sam Bennett. I love Sam Bennett. Guy's an absolute stud. He's a fucking shit disturber. This is and I love Brandon Montour and Bob. I've been following because my dad's a Columbus fan, so I've been following Bob for quite a while. I just maybe it's not even necessarily like I'm looking at this. I'm just looking at it from maybe an analytical standpoint of like the odds of them doing that again versus them flaring out. Like the odds are much more like I'm getting Montreal vibes. I'm getting Flyers vibes. Remember when the Flyers went to the Stanley Cup against Blackhawks and then they just kind of faded into obscurity?
I think this team is a little like they have more youth. They have a better structure of their actual roster build than both.
I still think they're better than the other three teams we just talked about for sure.
Yeah. So if you get world class goaltending from Bobrovsky, I mean,
I just don't know if you're going to get it again. But I'm a little more. I don't hate Bobrovsky. There are goalies that I just think are just absolute trash. Bobrovsky I don't think is trash. I don't know his motive. He's just so fucking.
He just doesn't care.
He's so hot and cold, man.
Yeah.
Like getting him to if you can get him to care, it's great. But it just seems like sometimes he goes out there just to collect the paycheck, and it's tough to watch sometimes. When you watch a bad Bobrovsky game, you're like, Jesus Christ, how does this guy have a fucking job?
I mean,
but when he's on his game, he's good. When he's on his game, he's good.
That's what I do at work, dude. I'm there for the paycheck. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So the other team that we flip flopped on, I will be very concise because everything that you're about to say, I am definitely going to agree with. The subtractions that this team have are monumental. Like it's not. Like we can talk about losing Bergeron and we can talk about losing David Krejci, but they also lost a lot of depth too. Like Tyler Bertuzzi was with them for the run, toward the end there.
Dude, Taylor Hall had a decent season last year.
They lost Taylor Hall, who accounted for a lot of that. Even asshole from Columbus, the captain of the team forever, he's gone now.
Yeah.
Like they've lost a lot of depth, and there is no center. There's no centers on this team. Pavel Zacha is not a first-line center.
God, no, dude.
Charlie Coyle is not a second-line center.
God, no.
Morgan Geekie was struggling to be in the lineup of the Kraken.
Yeah.
Like, he was in and out. Like, this is a problem for them. So
by far, out of especially the two that we're kind of going through right now, way worse forward group than Florida, in my opinion.
I agree. And so... This is my wild card here of like I'm writing it all on this, and then you can break down Boston. The entire Boston season and playoff hopes rest on Linus Ullmark.
Yeah. If
Ullmark plays the way he did last year, he will get this team into the playoffs. If he is average, if he gives 90%, this team will not make the playoffs. Like I do not pencil in the Boston Bruins as a for sure playoff spot.
Yeah. Let me
in fact, they could be bad.
They could easily miss the playoffs with this.
They could this team has the possibility of being bad.
Yeah. So the thing with Ullmark and this is why they locked him up a little bit. They still have Jaceway. So if Ullmark is they're going to play that hot hand, so the goaltending this is still probably the best duo in the league.
Yes, agreed.
I think, you're looking at the D pairings, right? Lindholm, that's obviously he's close to my heart. Charlie McAvoy's still a very good D. Even Matt Grzelcyk is a good defenseman, and then you got Brandon Carlo. So I definitely, I don't mind their D. Between them and Florida, I still think Florida actually has the better defensive setup here. Right, I will take OEL over Kevin Shattenkirk any day of the week, and that's their biggest weakness on that Florida D, and that's what we're looking at because I think OEL and Shattenkirk should be on that third pairing.
I don't know how I feel about that.
So I think for me, I think they're close, right? I think you look at this top
close
four.
For different reasons. I like OEL for a little more offensive firepower, whereas Shattenkirk I trust more to be a D man.
Oh, you have not watched Kevin Shattenkirk.
No.
Oh, boy. He is the biggest defensive liability in the fucking league, dude.
Well,
he's a good
if
dude.
He would just play defense.
He doesn't play defense. He doesn't even. He's not a defender, and he's good offensive defenseman anymore.
Well, that's that he needs to stop doing
hurts.
that.
It hurts. It hurts to
But-
watch. So,
But he's on a third pairing now, so he should probably get the message that he's not on the team for that reason.
yes, yeah. Whereas the Ducks were basically counting on him for kind of being the veteran presence, but then also he's getting some power play time and shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
And that's just not who he is anymore. So I think their deep pairings are pretty close. I give the edge to Florida. So in that regard, I still have Florida with the edge on both the forward group and the D group, right? I think Tendies even if Olmark comes back down to earth, which he probably will, right? We'll see the Linus Olmark that realistically isn't an absolute fucking wall. I think with Jay Sway on the back end, shout out to the Alaska boy. It's still such a good tandem. I still think Bob and Stolarz they can't compete with that. I mean, you're gonna get a better season out of Olmark compared to Bobrovsky, and then Stolarz and Swayman isn't even in competition. So but that's one of the three areas that I think Boston technically wins. So I think they could be close. There's a lot of things that are kind of if this forward group for Boston can click, I think you could probably pencil them in again for the playoffs, right?
You lost so many goals, you lost so many points, and you replaced a fraction of them.
Yeah, so I'm a little concerned about this team. So
you're not like Pasta is the real deal, but JVR.
I know that's pretty brutal.
JVR and Pavel Zacha, like that's I can't believe I'm saying this, but that's a second line.
Yeah, that hurts my soul, dude.
That's a second line. And now, okay, is Pasta good enough to drag this line to be good? Yes. Is Brad Marchand good enough to drag Charlie Coyle and Jake DeBrusk to be good? No. I like Brad Marchand. He's a good hockey player. He is not David Pastrnak.
Yeah. And
he is not good. He is not good enough to make a line good on his own. David Pastrnak is.
Yeah.
I think that, he will make Pavel Zacha and James Van Riemsdyk look pretty good. Brad Marchand is, I think that second line is really going to struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, just look at that fourth line left winger too. It's such a downgrade all over the place in this.
In fact, to me, God, I forgot about that. To me, that's almost like Boston kind of waving a white flag. Like,
yeah,
if anybody thinks that Milan Lucic has any good hockey left in him, you are living in the past.
Yeah,
but Milan Lucic does not have any. He's a Ryan Reeves at this point, and you basically pick up a Ryan Reeves just for fans to cheer.
Ryan Reeves type. Yeah,
that'd be a good fight.
Yeah, I would watch that.
I'd watch that fight.
I don't know if they'll go out anymore. They're both getting old, but
definitely not.
So I think these are those two teams are somewhat similar. I think Florida definitely has the edge on the forward group. Boston has the edge on the goalies, and then the D. D is a wash. I'll give them that. So
okay, I would probably, obviously Florida's got the win on the offense. I would probably give, I don't know. See, I at least know what I'm getting with this defensive core from Boston. Whereas Florida, to me, their defense is kind of a toss up in the sense of, again, Brandon Montour had a breakout year. Like, that was an incredible year. He basically picked up the entire role that Mackenzie Weegar was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. He quarterback in power plays and being an absolute fucking stud. It's one of those situations of like, hey, Brandon, you're actually really good. And he's like, shit.
Okay. I guess I'm the word is out.
Yeah. All right. I guess I am good. I'll go play good now, coach.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that. So like if he can do it again, that's great. And yeah, they fully healthy defense. I can see that a little bit. I kind of know what you're getting with this defensive core here. This is, B minus level defense, in my opinion. It's solid, but it's not going to move the needle. Like, Charlie McAvoy can quarterback a power play, but I don't know. I guess I'm not like cold on McAvoy, but I definitely don't think that he's like elite.
Yeah.
He's good. Solid guy.
He's
Definitely a
nice
first
guy.
line defenseman. I'm not taking
Does a
away
lot
from
for the
that.
community and shit.
Yeah, that too. No, so I agree. This is the one wild whereas I think that Florida will still float around like the wild card spot and the low seedings for sure, most likely. Boston, like I said, like they're either low seedings or I could man, they just lost so much talent. Like I don't think people understand how much talent this team lost.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, that 1,000-point season, that President's Trophy historic season that they did, meant exactly dick all.
Yeah,
like that team, that elite stacked team, couldn't do it in the playoffs. What do you think this team's going to do?
Sure.
So I don't know. I think that it's very God. You might have convinced me. Maybe I think that the Boston Bruins might not make the playoffs.
Yeah, they could easily get bounced. You have a human season from Olmark, and Swayman comes down a little bit, and this team's probably missing, dude.
You're losing. Pasta will probably survive without Bergeron next to him, but man, without a good set, like I just don't think that.
It'll be interesting to watch.
It will be. It will be. All right, let's round out the show with our top twos. Basically, the same two teams. We just flip-flopped them. Tampa Bay Lighting and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Taylor, why don't you start us off?
Yeah. So I have Tampa at 2 or Tampa at 1 and Toronto at 2. Realistically, this was a throw-out for me.
Agreed.
Coop being the coach, he's gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. And
you still have the best goalie in the world.
You still got a world beater in Vasilevsky. And you still have, Brandon Hagel, could have a turn on season, right? So obviously, the Tampa Bay Lightning are not the same team that they were when they went to 3 Stanley Cups in a row.
Coop admitted it in our interview with him.
Yep. It's a completely different roster. You're obviously going to lose those kind of players. I just think with that good of a coach, guys that have been there, they know what it takes. You still got the Kucherov. Chiarelli is a great player. Braden Point, if you know who that is. It's still a nice. I think Tanner Jeannot, if you're looking at their top 6, I think he kind of moves into that top 6 over Connor Sherry.
Coop may be biased, but shocking news revelation here. You heard it here first on the Dusty Bender podcast, folks. But John Cooper thinks that Nikita Kucherov is the best player in the league.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all.
No, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit, and I understand where he's coming from. I still think it's Connor McDavid, but I absolutely respect his point of view on that.
Yeah, I honestly
he argues that Nikita Kucherov is the best player because he can do everything and makes everyone around him better.
Yeah.
Whereas he argued, and it's a very fair point, McDavid doesn't necessarily do that.
Well, yeah, because he's busy having 2 points per game in a fucking season for himself. Right. So
he's got the mentality of like, if I don't put up 2 to 3 points a night, we're gonna lose.
Right.
Whereas Nikita Kucherov might be that position where I'm gonna make sure that my line puts up 6 points tonight.
And wins games, right? I think that does make a difference. So I get that, but from a pure skill standpoint,
I still.
Yeah, honestly, I could put Drysdale in front of Kucherov too. So, good on him being with his boys. But yeah, this forward group, is it the world beater it used to be? No, it's not. But I think if you're looking at these top 2 teams, I think it's still very similar to Toronto in the fact that they're a little top heavy, but I think
who's Nicholas Perbix?
He'll be on the
okay.
I don't know why, maybe he is way better than I've seen from him, but
I would have asked Coop, but I didn't know he existed. So
yeah, Coop doesn't even know that he's on the team.
Coop, what's up with Nicholas Perbix? Who?
Yeah, who's that? Yeah, so I mean, still with Hedman, still with Sergachev. Eric Chernak is still a good defenseman, and then having Bogosian back there on that bottom. Not. I mean, honestly, there's better
Yeah.
defensive pairings in the league. Especially even in
It's a
this division.
solid decor, but it's not. I wouldn't even say it's top 5.
No,
Top 10.
I mean, to be completely honest with you, some of the even the Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroits of the world, those might be better.
That's a bold statement
pairings.
because
Those might be better deep
you're
pairings.
talking about a lineup with Victor Hedman and Mikhail Sergachev on it.
Sure, but I mean, you can is Moritz Seider going to be a Victor Hedman this year? He could easily be that. Right?
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Can Gostis Beer put up a very similar season to Mikhail Sergachev? Sure, I could listen to that conversation. So, in that regard, I think this, but Coop's going to get the most out of this deep pairing, right? So,
yeah.
I think that's
there's the rivalry though because Lalonde was with Coop forever. So
sure. But then I mean,
Lalonde,
I'm not even going to spend any time on it. Andrew, Vasilevsky is.
We don't need to talk about it. It's the Vazzy show.
It is.
Jonas will play a couple games.
Yeah, he'll probably get 10.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's the Vazzy show. So no, I agree. There's this is going to be another solid showing. I ranked Tampa I think I put them in the second spot. But 1-2 interchangeable here. I think of the two teams, they're more of the real deal. If Tampa gets into the playoffs, they're another threat. And I like this team because, for all the reasons that we just talked about, Coop is arguably the best coach in the league. He's going to get the best out of his players. This is still, it's the usual suspects coming back. Vazzy's still the best goalie in the league. Mm-hmm. This team's dangerous once they get in the playoffs. I wouldn't count them out.
Yep, I'm with you.
Whereas the Toronto Maple Leafs. So any longtime listener to the show are be like, Chance, how the fuck could you put the Toronto Maple Leafs at the top of this division?
Right.
Listen, I think that the Toronto Maple Leafs have crafted an amazing regular season team.
Sure.
The Maple Leafs have had good regular seasons for the last 5-6 years. And I think that they've improved it even better. I think this is a great regular season team. I think they got worse for the playoffs. I do not think that once Dubas gets kicked out, it went to 500 hockey men, old guys making decisions. We need guys with grit and heart. So what'd we do? We got Ryan Reeves and Max Domi.
Boom.
That's gonna set him over the edge.
Love it.
Oh, for good measure, let's throw in John Klingberg.
Okay, we can do that.
Done.
If you want, to do that, you can do it. Sure.
Look, was it a good idea for them to put Matt Murray on IR? Absolutely. And I think that there's enough firepower on this team to outscore any defensive problems that they have. Like the defensive problems still exist. Morgan Riley is an offensive defenseman. I don't love TJ Brody. Jake McCabe is fine. Klingberg is a massive defensive liability. Mark Giordano is still in the league.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. Next.
Is still playing hockey somehow, some way. And Lindgren is just, to round out the defensive core. Mm-hmm. That defense is still nothing to write home about. This team's strength is still, let's win games 6-4.
Yep.
Like they are going to outscore their problems. Ilya Samsonov is a fine goalie.
Yeah.
Like he's not bad. I won't say he's bad. And in fact, I might even have some hope for Woll.
Yeah.
We saw flashes of him last year, and I actually was mildly impressed with the guy. There's enough firepower on this team and enough raw talent to it just screams to me like one of those teams that they're going to try every night. They're going to rack up the scoreboard. They're going to put up amazing point numbers. They're going to put up lots of goal totals, and they're going to look great. And then they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to realize that, walking an entire team from red line to red line doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not playing Montreal.
Right. Exactly. Like you're going to be playing playoff hockey again, and I know that every Toronto fan is just like, "Oh, the curse is over because we got to the second round." Yeah, and then you got gentlemen swept.
Sure.
Like it's not impressive. Like getting to the second round is not like Seattle got to the second round. It's 2 years in. It's not like I understand. Like I just don't. It's not something to be. I understand in a bubble, in a fishbowl, like that is an accomplishment for you. I get that small victories you got. If you're a Leafs fan, you hang on to whatever positive news you could get. But this team is just like it's just, to me, it's just not built for the playoffs. This is not going to. Ryan Reeves is not going to help you in the playoffs. This fourth line of Sam Lafferty, Dylan Gambrell, and Ryan Reeves is not playoff worthy. Max Domi is an absolute fucking animal, but God, I just don't like. Say Nyes, breaks out like they'd hope him to. You're getting another William Nylander, which you're hoping you're going to keep.
Yeah,
he might be going. The only thing that I do love of their pickups is Tyler Bertuzzi, because I absolutely love Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yeah, he's a beast.
It hurts my soul a little bit that he's playing with the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's going to be a great line. Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, and Tyler Bertuzzi is going to be an amazing line. If William Nylander stays with the team, well, he's got 1 more year in his contract, right?
Yeah, there's chatter about moving him, but it's going to be a fucking king's ransom.
Sure. Or they'll, they agree to part ways and Nylander sticks around for 1 more kick at the can.
Sure.
If they don't trade him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually I don't mind the Max Domi ad. I think that's I differ with you on that. I don't know if he's necessarily a second line player here. I think you see Matthew Nyes up on that second line there.
I agree. Yeah.
Love Tyler Bertuzzi with Matthews and Marner. I think that's a great move there. Yep. But then it gets real fucking shallow, right?
Yep.
And that's what we're used to seeing with this team. So nothing.
Wasn't Kelly traded away from the Kraken?
Yeah, he was. I think he was a expansion pick.
And Kelly was in and out of the lineup, wasn't he? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So like he couldn't even last on the Kraken roster. So
right. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he's solidified as a third line winger on this team should give you pause.
Yeah. So I still, their forward group is very similar. I think Tyler Bertuzzi and Domi aren't bad additions. I like those actually. Yeah. D pairings. So the one that isn't on the D pairings right now is Jake Muzzin, which I think Muzzin is just good defensive. Getting older, slow, but Muzzers being down there. Muzzers. I hope that's his actual nickname. So Muzzy. I hope.
Hey, yo, Muzzy.
Yeah, hey, Muzzy. Hola, Muzzy. If he does play, I think that definitely helps this decor. You definitely need him in there because someone other than Jake McCabe probably needs to play with John Klingberg, or it's going to be 9-8 instead of 6-5.
That is this. Like I said, this team is tailored to score goals, and that will work in the regular season.
Agreed.
Not 100%, but it will work more often than not. Like there is enough talent on this team to overcome blown coverage. Yeah. Like you will score enough goals to do that. I totally 100% believe that. This team was built to win the President's Trophy.
Sure, 100%.
And I don't mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean that in a very worrisome way. Like the Maple Leafs are setting themselves up. They're like, we have 130 points. We're gonna win the cup, and then get swept in the first round.
So my question marks on this team. I don't hate if Muzzin does come back. I don't hate the D pairings as much. Obviously that bottom pairing is going to be a little shaky. But
who drops? Gio?
No, I think you keep Gio around for a little bit of. He's just a locker room guy. Right? He's a captain forever. So I think you keep Gio. I think you see either McCabe or Lindgren get dropped down to that 7th spot. But I think the question marks are obviously goaltenders, right? You got 2 young goalies. Both played good in small sample sizes, right? I think that's definitely the question mark, right? What does a full season look like?
If they're bad, this team will be bad.
Yes, but I think both of
You
those
can't win
attendees.
games 9-7 every night.
Agreed. But I think both of these attendees. I mean, well, you can,
You
but it's
hard
gonna
to
be a
do.
fucking headache. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think both of these goalies are young enough and have kind of some of the a little bit of. They have some potential, right? So it's
Sure.
just I mean, the most that even Samsonov has played is 44 games, right? And so it'll be interesting to kind of see what the goalie situation looks like. My biggest question mark for this team is Sheldon Keefe. So I am a little concerned.
Implementation rolling them out.
Yes, that's literally like it just has not fucking worked,
That's a
right? I
good
mean,
point.
they had a good regular season. That's totally fine. They had a good regular season for the exact same points that you're making, right? And the reason that they're not a playoff, contender
He
still
gets
was just Sheldon
outcoached
Keefe.
in the playoffs.
He gets outcoached, right? So I think Sheldon Keefe, besides the tendies, are probably my biggest question mark. I think they've done enough personnel wise on the both the forward group and the D group. I think they could easily have a better season in that regard. Those are my two question marks for them. So I definitely I went Tampa number one. I could see Toronto being number one based on those two things, right? If those go well, goalies and Sheldon Keefe. But yeah, so they're closer to interchangeable than I would like to admit. But this is still unfortunately not a Stanley Cup team, and I think Sheldon Keefe is probably the reason why. So
I think it's written into Keefe's contract that like if you ever pull a Babcock where you bench Austin Matthews in the last minute of an elimination game with 2 minutes left in the third period down by 1,
we're gonna extend you.
No, it's not only will we fire you, we'll take one of your kids.
Mm.
So
That's
like
fair.
when he gets into the playoffs, he's just like paranoid.
Yeah.
Like he's like I can't like coach, like I don't know. Nyes is playing pretty well. No, but Marner's got a broken ankle. Huh. Send him.
Maybe they like before the playoffs even start, they do take one of his kids. So they already have him like just as insurance, right? And so he's just that's just in his fucking mind, right?
He gets like kidnapper text messages before every game.
Yeah.
I need motivation, Keefe.
I need proof of life.
Oh God.
Oh, good God, man.
He's like Ryan. He's like Ryan Reeves will not touch the ice. I promise.
I swear, Ryan Reeves fucking starts
because Babcock would make him a starter.
Hell yeah.
Babcock would be like, oh, we're gonna start Ryan Reeves tonight because I saw a lot of grit, and right.
Liked what I saw at practice.
Liked what I saw at practice, and Revo's got a lot of heart and a lot of grit, and yeah. After this game, I will go hunting on my giant ranch in Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. That's a great fucking word.
Saskatchy. The old Sketchy. I'm sure it was what the locals call it.
Probably. You were local, so it makes sense. Yeah, you would.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. There you go.
Cool. That's it, folks. That is your Atlantic Division recap. This one was honestly probably one of the ones where we had the most. This is a tough one. We had the most like, this could go either way kind of thing. Whereas our, like the Metropolitan one, that was pretty set in stone, honestly. So I think that we'll have a lot of fun when we get to the West because that's going to be a lot more like passionate heart arguments.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we get out to the Pacific. So excited for that. We'll be having those coming down the pike as we get closer to the season. When the season starts, we'll go back to our every week format. We're going to, as we continue through the summer, we're keeping one episode every other week. And once again, remember to check me out tomorrow on when you guys watch this, it's going to be Friday. So for Friday, October, Jesus, we're running close to 2 hours now. August 25th, check us out on the Hockey Podcast Network live stream, breaking down the Pacific Division. That'll kind of give you an idea of what we're going to do for our own show, or at least what I'm thinking, and support our other shows in the network. They're good folks. And as we get a little closer, those fantasy hockey fans out there.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you're gonna be in for a treat because not only is the Dusty Bender podcast doing our own personal fantasy league, but we are also joining up with the other teams in the Hockey Podcast Network and going head-to-head with them. So we'll be getting lots of fantasy talk as we move forward and get closer. I think probably next episode, maybe the one after, we'll dive in, maybe just a little tease, and we'll talk about maybe who we think is going to go in the top 10.
I can't wait to win that league too.
Oh God, we're just going to kick the shit out of it. We'll have to devise a draft. We'll have to devise a draft strategy.
100%, dude.
This league is looking professional. Like, it's got divisions and shit.
Yeah, it's fancy shit, man.
I'm gonna have to go into the league manager rules and read how they actually do this.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All
right, folks. That's it for us. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you later.